Hello, welcome to my channel. It's rather a sad day today for us who are British. Elizabeth II has passed, and it's a bit of a sad day, although I like to think that she's with Philip now, so perhaps not sad for her. And I think all we can do is carry on. So as you know, if you've followed any of my videos, I experiment all the time. I haven't painted this flower before. It's a hibiscus. We have them here in Florida where I live. They last a day and they're very beautiful. And I thought, well, why not give it a try in acrylics, which I sort of paint in layers in acrylics. If you're painting in oils, the colour mixes right on the palette, right on the canvas. But if you're painting in acrylics, you have to sort of layer it somewhat. I started out by doing a sketch on tracing paper. I like to use tracing paper because you can reuse those tracings time and again. I transferred my tracing to mixed media paper, and I want to say right here, I use my sketch as a guideline. I paint over the lines. I can't help it. I've always done it that way. And it's simply a guide for me. I should also tell you that this is a slideshow because I need to get a new SD card for my camera, and I forgot to do that. So I thought I still had something interesting to show you. So I took photographs of every stage of this painting. Here is my palette. It's my usual palette of titanium white, primary yellow, raw sienna, raw umber, French ultramarine blue, sap green, and alizarin crimson. I usually paint my background first, but I didn't even do that today. It's just been one of those days. And I used primary yellow and sap green and just splish-splashed them on in a crisscross stroke around the edges of the paper. And then I used titanium white and some water and mixed that all in. I didn't mix it too thoroughly. I wanted some interest and sort of texture to the background. After I'd added the titanium white, I used a powder brush. I buy them from the Dollar Tree, and well, I think they're about $1.25 now, but they used to be $1. And they're lovely, big fluffy brushes, and you can really soften those backgrounds very well with a powder brush. And so that's what I used in this case, and here's what I got. I swirled my powder brush around until I got this nice soft effect, not too softened. I still have some colour and texture in there. And the green and the yellow has, along with the titanium white, has given me quite a variety of colour. With the background done, I started work on the petals, and I mixed titanium white, alizarin crimson, and a touch of raw sienna to bring that strident red down a little notch. And that gives me a softer pink than if I had just mixed alizarin with the white. If you add a green or a brown to the mixture, it softens the colour quite a bit. So I painted all the petals this basic mid-tone pink. I will add highlight and shadow to this. And I started at the outer edge of the petal and pulled the stroke in toward the center. I always do that with petals and leaves, and it gives that striation on the petal that makes it look a little more realistic, I feel. I show two flowers here, one full-on facing you and one that you see the reverse side of it and the sepals. I added French ultramarine blue to my pool of pink, and that gave me a sort of mauve colour, and that works for my shadow. I chose to make the centre of my hibiscus dark Not all hibiscus are dark in the center, but some are, and I thought it gave a nice contrast, which is why I chose that color. As you can see, I just blobbed it in the center of the flower, and you can take a wet brush, a sort of damp, dry brush, not too much water in it, and smooth that out so that it smooths up and outwards toward the outer edge of the leaves, but still keep it mostly in the center. I hope that makes sense. I think it does. Okay, so this picture is looking a little rough. I added a highlight to the outer edge of the leaves and a highlight into the center. I thought maybe it would help show up the stamen. I think that's what you call it for this flower. And I needed a background for that. With a little finagling, some swiping of that damp brush, you can make this meld into something that looks good. Believe me, I know it doesn't look good here, but it just takes a little effort when you're painting in acrylics. If you're painting in oils, the color mixes right on the canvas. With acrylics and the delicacy of flowers, you have to sort of use layers to achieve that delicate, translucent look that you get with petals. I hope I'm not putting you off. I think I could have done a better video with my video camera, but I need a new SD card, like I said. Okay, the thing is to decide where the light is coming from and to put your highlights on accordingly. Just put that lighter color where you think the highlight's going to hit, where you think the light is going to touch that petal. That's where you put a little dab of lighter paint. Where you think it's in shade, there's no light hitting it, that's where you put your darker colors. I used a liner brush for the stamen and alizarin crimson, and I just drew that straight line and then dotted the polleny bits, I don't know what you call those, on top. And I think I might have added some raw umber for a shadow to that. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the picture, and I haven't got it right in front of me at the moment. And I use the same technique throughout my painting. I put my mid-tone on first. I decide where my light is coming from. I add my shadows to the shadow side where the light is not hitting, and my highlights to the side where the light is hitting. The more tonal values you get in, the more interesting your painting is going to be. But I find just using those three, a mid-tone, a highlight, and a shadow, will give you quite a nice painting. I'm not Vincent van Gogh. I just paint for the fun of it. And I quite like some of my paintings. I sometimes don't like everything in a painting, but for the most part, I like what I turn out. I used both raw umber and French ultramarine blue to give me a shadow to set the hibiscus on a surface. If you don't put that shadow underneath, everything looks like it's floating in midair. So I always try to set things on a tabletop or on the ground or whatever. And those are the two colors that I often use, French ultramarine blue and raw umber. Raw umber is a very nice neutral, and it's also very transparent, as is French ultramarine blue, and it allows the color underneath to come through. Those are two of my favorites for shadow. Well, it's not a video, but I think it points up a few things that might be helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe. That helps my channel grow, and I'd appreciate it if you could find time to do that. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.